Jack sat quietly on the porch, his eyes following the weak rays of sunlight at the end of the day, shining on the row of areca trees in front of the alley. The farm was now desolate and heartbreakingly quiet. Mr. Hoy's sudden departure, despite the harsh truth, still left an indescribable void in Tu Tien's heart. He knew that her heart was still bleeding, and he always tried to be by her side to protect and soothe her. But these days another worry knotted Jack's heart. Lois' mother, the woman who had worked hard all her life for him, all lived alone in a large house. Before, when he had not yet met Tu Tien, the house was always filled with laughter. But now, when his heart belonged to Tu Tien, the time he spent with his mother was decreasing. He was afraid that loneliness would engulf his mother, especially when he and Tu Tien built their own home. After a simple dinner, Jack decided to go home. There were only the two of them, mother and son. The atmosphere was so quiet that even his mother's sighs became heavy. He looked at his mother's haggard face, the deep wrinkles at the corners of her eyes, and his heart ached. "Mom," Jack called softly. Mrs. Loy looked up, her gentle eyes looking at her so. "What's wrong? You've been so busy lately. You don't come to visit me much." "Are you sad at home?" Jack's voice was a little guilty. Mrs. Loy shook her head slightly. Her smile was sad. "I'm used to it. You're worried about work in Tu Tien, so I'm happy." Jack knew his mother was trying to act strong, but he could feel the loneliness hidden deep in her eyes. He took a deep breath, deciding to say what he had been thinking for a long time. "Mom, I want to ask you something." Mrs. Loy nodded slightly, her eyes encouraging her son to continue. "Mom, I've seen Uncle Dong come to our house to help a lot lately. He's a kind and enthusiastic person. I want to ask you, what do you think of Uncle Dong?" Jack hesitated. Mrs. Loy's face was a little confused, then a gentle smile appeared on her lips. "Dong is a good person, my child. When I was in trouble, he helped me a lot. So do you have feelings for Uncle Dong?" Jack boldly asked. Mrs. Loy was silent for a moment, her eyes looking far away. "Mom, I don't know either. All these years I've only known you. Uncle Dong is good, but you..." Jack held his mother's hand, his voice sincere. "Mom, if you have feelings for Uncle Dong, I fully support you. He's a good man and he loves us. I don't want you to be lonely." "If Tu Tien and I get married, I'm afraid you'll be even sadder." Mrs. Loy's eyes were filled with tears. She squeezed her son's hand gently, her voice choked. "My son is really grown up. You always think of me. Thank you. I just want you to be happy." Jack said, feeling a little relieved when he saw that his mother did not object. "Uncle Dong has helped us a lot. If you feel comfortable and happy with him, I will be very happy." Mrs. Loy nodded, a tear rolling down her cheek. "I understand, so let me think about it." Jack hugged his mother, feeling the warmth from the woman he loved the most. He knew that this decision was his mother's, and he would respect all her choices. The most important thing was that his mother found joy and happiness in the remaining years. He hoped that a good man like Mr. Dung would give his mother a strong shoulder to lean on, so that she would no longer be alone in this quiet house. He believes that even if he builds his own home, his mother will still have someone to be with, share with, and love. That is what he always wants. Mrs. Loy heard the sincere words from the bottom of her son's heart. Her gentle eyes lit up with emotion. She held Jack's hand tightly, her voice warm and a little choked. "Son, you have always been my greatest pride." Over the years we have relied on each other together, overcoming many difficulties. I know you always worry about me. That makes me very touched. She sighed softly, her eyes looking far away as if reminiscing about the past. You have grown up, have someone you love. I just hope you will soon settle down, have a happy family. If I have another grandchild to hold, that will be my greatest joy. When Jack mentioned Murdung, Mrs. Loy's face was a little confused, but then softened. As for Mr. Dung, he's a good person. He's been coming and going to help me for the past few years. But right now we're just friends. I'm not ready for love at this age. She looked deeply into her son's eyes, her voice affirming, "I'm used to living alone. The important thing is that you're happy. Don't worry too much about me." Jack felt the sincerity and depth in his mother's words. He understood that, although his mother loved Murdung very much, the emotional wound from the past was still smoldering. He respected his mother's decision without forcing or urging her. "I understand, Mom." Jack gently squeezed his mother's hand. "I always respect all of your decisions. As long as you're happy and healthy, I'm at ease." Jack was still a little worried about his mother, but he couldn't leave Tu Tien at this time. Thinking about the mastermind still on the Oreo, Tu Tien's safety was the top priority. "Mom, I'll ask for permission to go back to the farm with Tu Tien. The mastermind hasn't been caught yet. I'm worried about her safety." Jack said, his eyes filled with worry. Mrs. Loy nodded, her eyes filled with understanding. "You go, my child. Tu Tien is now the most important person to you. You have to protect her well. Mom is fine at home." Jack stood up and hugged his mother lightly. "I'll come back to visit you often. Remember to take care of your health." Then he hurriedly left, carrying with him the warmth and peace of mind about his mother, but also the heavy worry for Tu Tien. He knew that the road ahead was still full of hardships, but he would always be strong to protect the girl he loved and his respected mother. The ruined farm awaits him in Tu Tien, where they will overcome the storms together and rebuild a peaceful life. Thank you for following our story. Wish you all the best.